Hello, my name is Crystal, and today we're going to be discussing HYBE and dynamic ticket pricing. I know I've been gone for a while. Life has been really busy, but even though I've been gone, I've actually been working closer with other armies and other people to do things for Army more than ever. So although I'm gone, I am still working on Army things. But today, I think it's really important that we do stop and we do discuss HYBE and dynamic ticket pricing. So if you don't know what happened, essentially during a HYBE business meeting, so every business quarter, a HYBE has these online conferences or business meetings that you have to essentially fill out a form to join. And these business meetings are essentially for investors and for other business people interested in HYBE's future business plans and how the business is currently being run. Usually they talk about sales and future projects in these meetings. Now, armies on Twitter usually tell people to not go to these meetings because they're for business people. So when they phrase things, when they talk about different things about BTS or about BT21 or Tiny Tan or anything like that, it will always be from a business perspective. And something that happens within a lot of fandoms is that we don't like it when business people talk about fandoms because it seems very detached, which is true in a lot of instances. Because a lot of times armies get really upset about the language that the business people use to describe BTS and to describe future plans for the company, because it's not sensitive to how fans would phrase things or think about things. So that's kind of the context behind these business meetings and how fans have kind of responded to them in the past. More recently, in the first week of May, HYBE had one of these business meetings. And during this business meeting, they talked about how for the D-Day concerts that Suga from BTS is currently doing, they opted in to do dynamic ticket pricing with Ticketmaster. Now, if you don't know what dynamic ticket pricing is, it's where tickets are much more expensive than they would be at their baseline price. Now, this is for a multitude of reasons. Ticketmaster has justified dynamic ticket pricing and platinum premium pricing for tickets, so that way money goes directly to the artists or their company, and it doesn't go into the hands of scalpers. But what ends up happening in this type of scenario is that scalpers have the money, have the resources to buy those tickets, and then continue reselling them at abhorrent prices. Meanwhile, fans who put in the effort to do all the verified fan pre-sales, to sign up for them, and to get money to buy those tickets, get scammed, basically, and don't get those tickets. Because the thing about BTS concerts is that there's not just people from the local area going to those concerts. There's people from other areas of the country or from other countries that are planning to go on that concert. And the cost of a ticket is fractional to the cost of the overall trip that this person will undergo to attend a concert. I know from the experiences of armies that I've talked to that many of them, even if they don't get a ticket, have to start the visa process as soon as possible, so that way they can hopefully get to another country where BTS is performing. There's even a person that I do know that was trying to get to a D-Day concert in LA, but fortunately they can't because their visa appointment is 4 months after the concert. So there's an entire process that multiple armies are going through in order to get to these concerts. Now, a lot of people will argue, well, if you can't afford a ticket, then just don't go. But here's the thing. BTS concerts are much more than just the people going to the concert. Going to a concert is a community thing. You don't want to be shutting out certain parts of the community to only allow people who have more money or who are richer to go to the concert. Because a lot of armies that go to concerts, spoiler alert, are just middle class. And a lot of people who do organizing within army spaces, spoiler alert, are just middle class. They do not have the money to be spending $1,000 on a ticket for a 100-section ticket to go to the concert. That is just not feasible, because we also know as well that Ticketmaster does not just sell tickets at their face value. When you go to click on a ticket, it's the cost of the ticket plus fees. So what HYBE is essentially doing is opting into this predatory ticketing practice and also cutting off a large portion of fans from having access to tickets. And if you knew anything about fandoms and anything about fan communities, you would know that that cuts off and disrupts a lot of the communication and organizing within the fandom. Because I'll say this really kindly. A lot of upper class, upper middle class people who go to concerts, who attend these types of things, they get really expensive tickets and they do not contribute to community practices. There's a reason why BTS concerts are so safe. There's a reason why families feel comfortable bringing their children to these concerts. It's because of the community of people that go and what is cultivated within that space. So there's people giving out freebies, there's people giving out directions, there's a lot of fan labor that goes into it in order to make these spaces safe. And when that fan labor and organization is disrupted by the company through predatory ticketing, what happens is that you get more unsafe conditions. And you also cultivate fans who pay lots of money and feel like they are owed something by the members. Something that's happened very recently in concert culture, mostly because of the COVID lockdown, which caused a pause in concert going that disrupted the concert community as a whole's passing down of traditions, of attitudes, of behaviors, has caused a large disruption in concert spaces as a whole. So essentially what is happening now, a lot of people can attest to this happening, is that people that go to concerts don't know how to act. There's very young people going to concerts, they're pushing people, they're shoving, and especially at K-pop concerts, what's been noticed is that people are aiming to get a YN moment. So YN is short for your name. It's a reference to YN fanfiction, or your name fanfiction, which is essentially self-insert fanfiction. So people are trying to get their moment. They're trying to interact and get like, oh, I was noticed by this member, I was noticed by this group, this person, and they're not considering the people around them. And the reason BTS concerts are able to be safe is because we're able to circumvent the effects of COVID lockdown and having a large group of young people entering the concert-going space from performing these really poor behaviors. What older armies and older people that go to these concerts can do is circumvent behaviors and teach new fans how to be kind to each other. Like, I can share my own experience. When I went to one of the Las Vegas PTD concerts, there was this really young girl, probably in her mid to late teens, who took the seat of someone who was trying to sit in this area. And what happened was that this older army, she turned around in her seat and she essentially told the younger girl, hey, you can't be doing that. You have to sit where you're supposed to sit, because if you don't do that, then that girl who lost her seat, she's going to go call security and security is going to kick you out. That type of correctional behavior cannot happen if you are cutting people off from entering concert spaces because of dynamic ticket pricing. And even then, ARMY as a community has always praised BigHit and HYBE for not opting into dynamic ticket pricing. That creates a stronger bond between the company and the fandom. And I feel like that bond, that trust, has been broken by the company and taken advantage of. And the company really is not considering the behavioral effects this will have on the concert-going experience. Because if you have a community that is not focused on safety, what happens is that you end up having to spend more on security, you end up having more injuries, and you end up having a overall more unsafe environment and less welcoming environment at the concerts. Concerts should be inclusive and welcoming spaces. They should not be a place that only people who are wealthy can go to. It just feels super out of touch with how BigHit for years has been trying to talk about artists and healing and doing things that are outside of the norm for musicians and trying to cater to the fans. It feels like they're not even listening or hearing what we're saying anymore. And I know there are various business decisions. There's various reasons why they might want to opt into dynamic ticketing pricing, because it is a revenue source. Like, let's be real. When BTS announced that they were all going to enlist in the military, that did plummet HYBE's stock price drastically, because BTS are the crux of the company, and HYBE now is trying to make up that revenue in other places. There's a reason 17 has released, I don't know, 1 million different album versions for one mini album. There's a reason why TXT has dynamic ticket pricing already for their concerts. There's a reason there's so much investment in different groups under HYBE. It's making up for the revenue that BTS will not be bringing in because they're gonna be enlisting. And I'm just so frustrated that out of all the business decisions that they could be making, they decided to make this one, when there's plenty of things they could have done already to generate revenue as well. Like, play old concerts in theaters, re-release old merchandise. You can release content through Tiny Tan, In the Psalm, or BT21 as well. There's like so many different things that can be considered and done to make up for that revenue that I feel like are not being explored. And instead, you're punishing fans and you're hurting the relationship that you've built with fans in order to generate revenue, which sucks so much because concerts already feel so unsafe for a lot of people. There's been fights breaking out at concerts. There's been people trying to crowd rush. There's people been pushing, yelling at each other, punching. So many unsafe behaviors have been happening, and you are trying to purposely disrupt what ARMY as a community already have for the concert going experience. And when you disrupt that, what happens is unforeseen consequences that you're gonna have to use money to fix anyway. Like what happened at SoFi, that was abhorrent. There's so much about SoFi that went wrong, but every time I reflect on it, it really could have been worse. It really could have been. Someone could have been seriously injured and hurt at the SoFi concert experience. And even recently too, at the Prudential Center. The staff there were so incompetent, the D-Day tour staff had to take over in organizing the lines. There was multiple ADA violations. There was multiple instances where it was just straight up unsafe. And HYBE as a company wants to go and continue disrupting what fans already have in place for concert behaviors and concert community. And they want to cut off access to concerts from a whole group of people. And I just don't think that's right. Because fandoms are much more than just consumers, than your unlimited money pool. Fandoms are actual communities of people. So it feels kind of insane to me that HYBE is not considering that, especially because they've considered that and they've known that for years already. Now, I don't know if there's some staff changes or something else is happening, but something needs to happen to stop dynamic ticket pricing or to reduce the amount of dynamic ticket pricing that happens, because there's a lot of different avenues this can go. And if HYBE continues to break the trust of the fandom, which they've done previously already with the announcement of NFTs, which now they have pulled back on because, oh, I wonder why. Maybe because there's a lot of people within the NFT space now getting sued for billions of dollars for being involved in NFTs, for doing rug pulls, for circumventing multiple laws, because NFTs, in the current state that they exist in, are just a fad. And HYBE then pulled back on that fad. So there needs to be more consideration of the fans here. And there needs to be more consideration of what HYBE wants to do, and that they want to continue having a trustful relationship and bond with the fandom, or if they want to continue disrupting the fandom's practices and actively harming the fandom. There's really only one option here. And a lot of people might listen to this video and think that, oh, that's kind of crazy because I'm not considering like the business aspect of it. But here's the thing. ARMY as a fandom will steadily grow. I've always talked about this. Very realistically, there will be a time where we plateau, but right now is not the time. And even right now, even though BTS as a group are not active because 2 of their members are in the military right now, there's still things going on for the group. Suga has his tour. RM is going to release music soon. The Maknae line hasn't even said anything yet about their music releases. There's still things that are happening. There's fans who are organizing. There's fans who are doing things, putting in the labor. So things are still happening. So I'm not sure why there's this disconnect. This thought that somehow BTS will be this temporary thing, that ARMY will be this temporary thing, because we won't be. We are a long-term investment. So there needs to be more consideration moving forward. And there needs to be some type of change that will improve what is currently happening. Because I can see somehow in the future that if things do not improve, that ARMY as a fandom will just start doing shit on their own. And will start doing certain things that will disrupt company actions. Because we already do that for Billboard and charting. We already know and have disrupted different things. So if HYBE wants to continue on this path, ARMY will diverge and will do their own thing. Because we're not just consumers at the end of the day. We're not just a group of people here to take everything that you give us and just buy it. We're not mindless. We're a community of people. You have to talk to us. That's the thing. All right, that's this video. I'm going to stop before I keep going because I could go all day. But thank you so much for watching this video. And as always, please remember to stay thoughtful.